Merry meet and welcome to Lux Dragon Queen Magic. I'm Taylor and today I'm going to be introducing you to my altars and then I'll introduce you to my podcast. So with that, I do have here my Ancestral Altar. So first off, you do see I do have a gift of incense right now. It is lavender. That is just what I felt called to do, as well as I've been dealing with some stress and anxiety. So hoping I can gain some peace and some love from my ancestors. I do have a wand that I got when I was using ancestral magic, and so I leave it here on this altar. I have a sand dollar as well that was gifted to me, and it reminds me of all the times on the beach and just memories with my family in general. I also have my little palm hand here because I just felt called to put it here and just kind of felt right. I mean, we do gain the lines in our hands from those of our families, right? So it kind of just made sense. And then I do have some elements around to represent some past family members that I don't have any true essence of. And then I do, of course, have some ashes of a past family member. And then you'll see I do have the card box here for the cloud cards. And the reason why I have that here is that it is, again, a fond childhood memory, as well as I enjoy the fact that this is the guardian beast looking over my ancestral altar. And then I do have it out of a frame. I just didn't really want to show them, but I do have pictures of my relatives up on the walls. I'm not really in contact with my family, so it kind of supports being on an ancestral thing. There is kind of the stigma around putting up living pictures next to pictures of those that have passed, so you can do with that what you will. For me, since I am not in contact with my family and that kind of is like a past life of mine, I kind of don't mind mixing it since I only have one past family member. Yeah, and so that's kind of my ancestral altar, and so I just like to clean and update this and light a new incense every time, give a little prayer for all of those of my bloodline. And with that, let me go ahead and show you my elemental altar. Merry meet again. So here is my elemental altar. So as you can see here, I got inspired. I think it was probably Tumblr or Pinterest. I am not sure, but I had limited space and I was inspired by this image of the shot glasses being used to represent the elements. And so that's kind of what I did. So I do have behind these shot glasses, they are the Reiki symbols. When I was learning Reiki, this is what I did. This is how I expressed myself to help me learn the symbols more thoroughly. And then since then, I've just kind of associated them with the elements because I really just found that all things are within each other. And so just a little bit about what's within the shot glasses. I have first Earth, and I do try to put these associated with where north is. So north is to my most left direction here. And then from there, we just go around the circle as always. And so with that, I do have in this Earth from my past home as well as my current home, and I just enjoy that. We of course just have an empty glass for air. For spirit, I have seashells because I love the ocean, as well as the rune tea for Taylor. And then I do have for fire a whole bunch of melted leftover wax from my past rituals and things like that. I don't really light this just because I don't want to have it diminish, but I do have a used wick in there as well. And then I also put dragon's blood essential oil in there. And then finally, of course, we have water. So I do replenish this and I do kind of watch it because sometimes when I am feeling very like low in energy, I will see that either one, I myself am dehydrated, or two, this glass is pretty low. So with that, that is my elemental altar. Next to these, I do have some beautiful images. So I love this. This is the High Priestess, and I just enjoy this imagery. It just kind of reminds me of who I am. And then when I was going through a very troubled time, I came across this imagery and it really helped reminded me of my strength and power and to help get over some trauma. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look into my personal altar. Merry meet. Now we come to my personal altar. So I do try to change this every week as I am cleaning it up. This is actually at one of its most basic states. So to go over it, I pretty much have most of these items always here. So I received this as a gift at work one time. She believed she could, so she did. And it just was very interesting because sometimes I like to see the external view of what people's perspective of me. There we go. That's the best way to put that. And I kind of like struggled with actually taking on this saying. So like since then I've really adopted it as my own. And I know this is like such a cliche thing. That's part of the reason why I had struggled with taking it on, but it just really helps remind me that it is all within my mental strength and my willpower to help create and manifest what I want in this world. And then I do have a dragon that was gifted to me. I have loved it and carried with it to me from place to place. And so now it is on my altar. I love it's in one of my favorite colors. And then I do have a gemstone that I found that reminds me of an egg and kind of just reminds me of like the projects and like reminding me to always create and of that divine feminine energy that exists within me. And then I do have another sand dollar here. So I had this one first. Again, it just reminds me of my family, but more importantly, this actually was my travel altar because for me, it can represent all of the different elements. And I won't go into that this time, maybe another time. Let me know below if that's something you're interested in. Also, let me focus on where I'm actually pointing the camera. Then next, I do have my literal glass heart there on the sand dollar as well. It's just a very important token for me. Again, I can go into that story sometime. And then I have my personal pendulum that is the very first pendulum I ever received and is really connected to my own willpower and subconscious and supports me in any decision making that really just comes from my own self. And yeah, just pretty straightforward. It's just a very important pendulum that's personal. That's why it's on this personal altar. And then I'm going to just skip over the oracle card setup real quick, and then right behind it I have my money jar in a red envelope. This is something that I created maybe about a year ago at this point, and so I have it here on my personal altar to just always remind me of that abundance and to always be grateful for what is coming through to me and the manifestations that I have in place in my life. And so with that, I do have an little easel that I like to put an oracle card on sometimes, or a tarot card, depending on just what my intentions are. And so this week I am focusing on the full moon in Taurus and aligning with that energy. And so I'll talk a lot more around aligning with this energy and what that means actually on my podcast. So please follow the link below if you would like to join us for this new weekly podcast where I'm going to be going over the aligning energy with the moon, as well as having some little witchy learnings in setting up a weekly ritual and what that means for us and the different intentions that we set within our lives. And so if that's something that's interesting to you, definitely follow along. Feel free to comment below any suggestions that you have for that. But otherwise, this will be just kind of like a weekly altar vlog of these updates and inviting you to the podcast and letting you know what we're going to talk about. So this week is more about introducing this energy as well as talking about the full moon in Taurus. With that, blessed be.